some of the things I'm talking about, I've never mentioned to anyone.
I definitely deal with racism on a daily basis.
Their system is set up in such a way that it's not there to benefit people of color.
Slavery was hundreds of years ago, but the implications from that are still current.
I wanted to always be proud and embrace my blackness, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't.
As Black parents, like we just want our kids to come.
My name is Reiss, and I live in Mankato right now. But something unique to my story is that I was adopted at the age of 11 months. I know that I was born in Kentucky, and I was in 2 foster homes before I came to join my family in southern Minnesota. I guess growing up, there were a lot of times where there were issues. I had lots of self-esteem issues, mainly because I didn't have anyone to model myself after. And I should mention it was a transracial adoption too, so there were no African-American people in my family. I did have 2 brothers and a sister that are Korean, but they kind of all had each other, and where the rubber meets the road, I had me.
My name is Jennings, and I'll be sharing part of my story with you today. I started my journey in southern Minnesota in St. Peter in 2013 as an undergraduate student at Gustavus Adolphus College. After that, I was employed here at Gustavus, and I've been here ever since. I currently work as the Assistant Director of Inclusive Excellence. It's been a wild ride. I advocate and work with students of all backgrounds, and no day is the same.
I think one of the things that we hear most about, or one of the terms that's used a lot, is microaggression. And I'm not sure that people understand what it is. I know that I didn't for a long time. So I guess to me, a microaggression is, you can think of it almost as a backhanded compliment, or saying something but not really saying it. So if someone says, you're so beautiful for a Black woman, that's considered a microaggression because it's saying that most Black people are not beautiful, but lucky for you, you are. So they're kind of, I look at them as kind of flying under the radar. I've experienced actually both racism and microaggressions. And, we want to tell ourselves, we're here in Minnesota, that doesn't happen, you should be fairly insulated. But no, probably the greatest microaggression that I have experienced is my hair. People touching my hair without asking, just reaching up and getting in there and feeling my hair. And then when I would get assertive and I'd say, please don't do that, why? Why not? And they would just not see anything. That's probably one of the most common things I think that people don't necessarily think about is, well, this is on my person and I'm not an anomaly. I'm not an animal. This is not a petting zoo.
I don't want to say I'm used to it. I think the best way to describe it is the mosquito effect. Every day I get small things like, oh, you're 5'7", do you play basketball? And when I tell them I play softball, they're confused. I get a lot of, well, where are you from? Where are you really from? I really could spend all day with this, but I'll keep it short. So a lot of the things I deal with on a daily basis is actually the angry Black woman trope. It's very rooted in white supremacy and trying to silence Black women. So there's less of a physical threat like Black men get, right? People aren't really threatened by the physicality of me. They're threatened by my emotions and my mentality. And so a lot of times, my coworkers, I'll be explicit, they try to undermine my knowledge, as, well, are you being a little sensitive about that? Or, well, that's not what I meant, and that's the journey and the lesson of microaggressions, right? Like, you might not have meant to insult me by asking me, no, where are your parents from then? Well, if you're from Los Angeles, right, expecting me to say, oh, I'm from, Ghana or Nigeria. The impact is that I feel othered. I feel like I'm not American, even though my whole, both sides of my family have been here because of slavery. And so we built this country, right? But their intention is not to make me feel like I'm not American. The intention is to get to know me. But the impact is that, I just don't feel welcome.
So I really struggled with that internally, figuring out really who I am. I knew I was treated as Black. I knew that I was raised in a Black household. but I didn't really know exactly how to identify myself and what my place was in the world. I think my experiences in school would definitely made it even tougher. A lot of my friends, I believe that they loved and they accepted me, but I think that they were more colorblind than that they really embraced and loved and respected my blackness. And I really faced a lot of microaggressions growing up, especially a lot of things like being said like you're an Oreo, where you're black on the outside and white on the inside, or you speak very well for being a black person. Or just even people straight up telling me, Mason, I don't like black people, but I think you're okay. I wanted to always be proud and embrace my blackness, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't because everyone around me was telling me how not black I am. But yet then you would go down the street, or walk in the mall and you'd have ladies clutch their purses or people cross the street when you're walking by. So it was interesting for me because I felt very black in some instances, and then was not allowed to embrace being black in others.
6-7 years ago is when we had a huge influx of East Africans, immigrants, first generation immigrants coming to, Midwest USA. So I saw the relationship between police and the newcomers getting into a very tense situation. So I figured, the police department has a volunteer program. How can I insert myself to be of some help if it meant alleviating or de-escalating conflict? I basically go to the power centers and confront the people that make decisions, asking them, why did you do this? Why did you write that ticket to this person to the extent to which you threw all the ordinances on it, while you wrote a very short synopsis warning to the same level of crime? The only difference being that guy's black and this guy's white. Why did you do that? I want to understand that, because when I write my report, I want to make sure I'm doing it right, because it seems like there's some kind of imbalance here. So the microaggressions define your daily life. That guy that has that huge ticket might not be able to work again because he has a felony charges now. Unlike the white guy that did 10 times worse, who just got slapped in the wrist. I want him to have the same effect of job loss, discomfort, as this man of color. Same thing, they're human.
When it comes to reacting to racism and expressions of microaggressions or whatever it may be, it's so exhausting because I want to react in the moment. I'm just boiling red hot. But as a black person, I feel like you always have to be the bigger person. The second I react, then if the police get involved, I'm going to be the aggressor. But even if they're not involved, then you're just confirming their stereotypes. And so I feel like I'm often placed into this box where I can't do anything, and I feel so powerless. I feel like I can't win.
A family member is really good with decorating. So if it's Halloween, there's pumpkins all over. If it's Christmas, then it's Santa Claus. And it just so happened that I went to the family member's house one year, and there were these cute little pumpkin decorations on the table. They were little ceramic pumpkins. And there was like a mom, a dad, and then the kids. And I just thought, that is so cute. I love that. Well, then if we fast forward a year, I was back around Halloween time, and it was like, look what we got for you. And I went in and I looked, and there was the mom pumpkin, the dad, the little baby pumpkins, and then this bigger than life pumpkin that was painted Crayola black. And of course the white teeth and all of that. And I guess what was said is like, aren't you glad we're including you? And I can hardly talk about it today. And it was a family member. And so I think that adds twice the hurt to it. And then expecting that I'm supposed to be glad or feel good about it. And I remember it like classically, like I just wanted to go home. I'm like, I don't belong here. I guess I never did. And that was hard. It was really, really hard. And probably the most overt because it was from family. I think that's why that hurt the most.
My mixed race children, Zachary and Tyler. Number one, you have to always keep in mind that they only have one mother. And number two, in my case, I'm divorced from her. Over the years, I got to know her family, very conservative Southern Minnesotans. Nothing wrong as far as open arms, I mean, they accepted me for who I am. But when it comes to their perception about African Americans, it's a whole different ballgame. For them, it's almost like I'm not a black person because they try to distinguish me as, you're not really like other black people. They think that's a compliment. But I've always thought like, what does that mean really? You know, the other black people that I meet in southern Minnesota, they're as, they're as human beings that I meet anybody else. White, black, it doesn't matter.
I definitely deal with racism on a daily basis. And just stereotypes, people assuming I eat certain things, people assuming I do certain things. When people hear I can sing, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Can you dance? And so it's been a pretty alienating experience being down here in Minnesota. Most days when I'm shopping or other things like that in Mankato or St. Peter, I deal with confused looks, angry looks, like people are like, why is she here? But I've never, been called anything out of my name, at least that I can hear. But students here on our campus have been walking and have heard the N-word thrown out the window. I haven't personally experienced that, but I definitely deal with racism on a daily basis.
Another experience to highlight was being in theater. I was a big theater buff and all the way through school, but it was kind of typecasting that was going on. And I remember we were doing The Sound of Music, and I really wanted to play one of the Von Trapp family singers, like the children. And basically it was like, well, no one's going to believe that you're a member of the Von Trapp family. So then again, I was like, well, what is this? It's happening far too often. I don't like it.
I feel entirely powerless. It doesn't matter what my education is. It doesn't matter what I'm doing for a career. It doesn't matter whether I'm a good person or not. These people can completely take away my power and just my right to exist in their world. And so it's completely and utterly exhausting. And I think that's where we need allies to be able to jump in and to diffuse the situation, stand up for me, and that it isn't just on me to either take it or find a way to articulate my standpoint, well enough that this white supremacist understands. I don't think that the burden should fall entirely on my shoulders.
In terms of, I think, what white people can do to help, it's kind of a tough one because part of me is like, ask questions. If there's something you don't know, ask questions. But then the flip side of that is I can't be your only teacher. That's a lot of weight to carry. So I think it's doing stuff to educate themselves. The books that they read, maybe they're watching BET for the first time, or go see a movie with a predominantly Black cast. Those kinds of things. Expose yourself, when you get the chance. In terms of being an ally, I guess, for myself personally, I'm looking at somebody that'll do more than post something on Facebook or do more than just say, how you doing? My tribe of people are the people that'll stand there with me, in the trenches or when things get tough. I guess for me, that's mostly what I need because I don't feel that I really had that growing up.
Be vocal, not just on social media when it's comfortable, but I think you need to equip yourself with the knowledge of how you can help, and then use that knowledge to make a difference. When you're around Black people who are experiencing racism, and when you're away from them and you're at the family dinner table and somebody says a racist joke, that's your opportunity to be an ally for people of color.
A lot of people have asked me, what can I do to help you out besides posting on Facebook, a one-time thing? And I think the biggest thing for me personally is just show up. With everything that's been going on lately, I will never forget the people that called me and said, hey, how you doing? Acknowledging that this stuff is going on and acknowledging that I might be feeling a certain way about everything that's going on. I think that's important to me. The other thing I would really say is to put yourself in uncomfortable places. Examine some of your own fears, examine some of your own prejudices. And you know what? Go to downtown Minneapolis and hang out. Go to a Black church. Go on vacation and stay in places that are predominantly people of color. because then I think if nothing else, it gets you just a sliver of what I go through, every single day.